And sovereign David was old, advanced in years, and they covered him with garments, but he could not get warm. So his servants said to him, "Let them seek for our master, the sovereign, a young woman, a maiden, and she shall stand before the sovereign and be his companion, and shall lie in your bosom, so that our master, the sovereign, gets warm." And they sought for a beautiful young woman in all the border of Yisrael, and found Abishag the Shunammite, and brought her to the sovereign. And the young woman was very beautiful, and she was a companion for the sovereign, and served him. But the sovereign did not know her. And Adoniah, son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, "I reign." And he prepared for himself a chariot and horsemen, and 50 men to run before him. Now his father had not worried him at any time by saying, "Why have you done so?" He was also very good-looking, and he was born after Absalom. And he talked with Joab, son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar the priest, and they supported Adoniah. But Zadok the priest, and Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and Nathan the prophet, and Shimei, and Rei, and the mighty men who belonged to David were not with Adoniah. And Adoniah slaughtered sheep and cattle and fatlings by the stone of Zoheleth, which is by En Rogel. He also invited all his brothers, the sovereign's sons, and all the men of Yehudah, servants of the sovereign. But he did not invite Nathan the prophet, or Benaiah, or the mighty men, or Shelomoth his brother. Nathan then spoke to Bathsheba, the mother of Shelomoth, saying, "Have you not heard that Adoniah, son of Haggith, has become sovereign, and David our master does not know it? And now, come, let me give you advice, and deliver your own life and the life of your son Shelomoth. Go immediately to sovereign David and say to him, 'Did you not, my master, O sovereign, swear to your female servant, saying, Certainly your son Shelomoth shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne? Why then has Adoniah become sovereign? Look, while you are still speaking there with the sovereign, let me come in after you and confirm your words.' And Bathsheba went into the room to the sovereign. Now the sovereign was very old, and Abishag the Shunammite was serving the sovereign. And Bathsheba bowed and did obeisance to the sovereign. And the sovereign said, 'What do you wish?' And she said to him, 'My master, you swore by Yahuah your Elohim to your female servant, saying, Certainly Shelomoth your son shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne. And now, look, Adoniah has become sovereign, and now, my master the sovereign, you do not know about it. And he has slaughtered great numbers of bulls and fatlings and sheep, and has invited all the sons of the sovereign, and Abiathar the priest, and Joab the commander of the army. But he did not invite Shelomoth your servant. And you, my master, O sovereign, the eyes of all Yisrael are on you, to declare to them who is going to sit on the throne of my master, the sovereign after him. Otherwise it shall be, when my master the sovereign rests with his fathers, that I and my son Shelomo shall be considered sinners. And see, while she was still speaking with the sovereign, Nathan the prophet also came in. So they informed the sovereign, saying, Here is Nathan the prophet. And when he came in before the sovereign, he bowed down before the sovereign, with his face to the ground. And Nathan said, My master, O sovereign, have you said, Adoniyahu shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne? For he has gone down today, and has slaughtered great numbers of bulls and fatlings and sheep, and has invited all the sovereign's sons, and the commanders of the army, and Abiathar the priest. And look, they are eating and drinking before him. And they say, Let sovereign Adoniyahu live. But he has not invited me your servant, nor Tzadok the priest, nor Benayahu son of Jehoiada, nor your servant Shelomo. If this matter is from my master the sovereign, then you did not let your servant know who should sit on the throne of my master, the sovereign after him. And sovereign David answered and said, Call Bathsheba to me. So she came into the sovereign's presence and stood before the sovereign. And the sovereign took an oath and said, As Yahuah lives, who has ransomed my life out of all distress, even as I swore to you by Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, saying, Certainly Shelomo your son shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne in my place. Even so I do this day. And Bathsheba bowed with her face to the earth, and did obeisance to the sovereign, and said, Let my master sovereign David live forever. And sovereign David said, Call me Zadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benayahu son of Jehoiada. And they came before the sovereign. And the sovereign said to them, Take with you the servants of your master, and you shall have Shelomo, my son, ride on my own mule, and take him down to Gihon. And there Tzadok the priest and Nathan the prophet shall anoint him sovereign over Yisrael, and blow the shophar, and say, Let sovereign Shelomo live. And you shall come up after him, and he shall come and sit on my throne, and he shall reign in my place. For I have commanded him to be ruler over Yisrael and over Yehudah. And Benayahu son of Jehoiada answered the sovereign and said, Amen. So says Yahuah Elohim of my master the sovereign. As Yahuah has been with my master the sovereign, so let him be with Shelomo, and make his throne greater than the throne of my master, sovereign David. Then Tzadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benayahu son of Jehoiada, and the Kerethites, and the Pelethites went down, and had Shelomo ride on sovereign David's mule, and took him to Gihon. And Tzadok the priest took a horn of oil from the tent, and anointed Shelomo. And they blew with the shophar, and all the people said, Let sovereign Shelomo live. And all the people came up after him. And the people played the flutes and rejoiced with great joy, so that the earth was split by their noise. And Adoniyahu and all the guests who were with him heard it as they had finished eating, and Joab heard the voice of the shophar and said, "Why is the city in such a noisy uproar?" And he was still speaking. Then see, Jonathan came, son of Abiathar the priest. And Adoniyahu said to him, "Come in, for you are a brave man, and you bring good news." But Jonathan answered and said to Adoniyahu, "No, our master sovereign Dawid has made Shelomo sovereign, and the sovereign has sent with him Zadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah son of Jehoiada, and the Kerethites, and the Pelethites, and they had him ride on the sovereign's mule. And Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet have anointed him sovereign at Gihon, and they have gone up from there rejoicing, and the city is moved. This is the noise you heard. And further, Shelomo sits on the throne of the reign. And further, the servants of the sovereign have gone to bless our master sovereign Dawid, saying, "Let your Elohim make the name of Shelomo better than your name, and his throne greater than your throne." And the sovereign bowed himself on the bed. And the sovereign also said thus, "Blessed be Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, who has given one to sit on my throne this day, while my eyes see it." And all the guests who were invited by Adoniyahu were afraid, and rose, and each one went his way. And Adoniyahu was afraid of Shelomo, and rose, and went and took hold of the horns of the slaughter place. And it was reported to Shelomo, saying, "Look, Adoniyahu is afraid of sovereign Shelomo, and look, he has taken hold of the horns of the slaughter place, saying, Let sovereign Shelomo swear to me today that he does not put his servant to death with the sword." And Shelomo said, "If he proves himself a worthy man, not one hair of him is going to fall to the earth, but if evil is found in him, then he shall die." And sovereign Shelomo sent, and they brought him down from the slaughter place. And he came and fell down before sovereign Shelomo. And Shelomo said to him, "Go to your house." And the days of Dawid drew near to die. And he commanded Shelomo his son, saying, "I am going the way of all the earth, and you shall be strong, and be a man, and guard the charge of Yahuah your Elohim, to walk in his ways, to guard his laws, his commands, his right rulings, and his witnesses, as it is written in the Torah of Moshe, so that you do wisely all that you do, and wherever you turn, so that Yahuah does establish his word, which he spoke concerning me, saying, If your sons guard their way, to walk before me in truth, with all their heart, and with all their being, saying, There is not to cease a man of yours on the throne of Yisrael. And also, you know what Joab son of Zeruiah did to me, and what he did to the two commanders of the armies of Yisrael, to Abner, son of Ner, and Amasa, son of Jether, that he killed them, and shed the blood of battle in peace, and put the blood of battle on his belt that was around his waist, and on his sandals, that were on his feet. So act according to your wisdom, and do not let his grey hair go down to Sheol in peace. But show loving commitment to the sons of Barzillai the Gileadite, and let them be among those who eat at your table. For so they came to me when I fled from Absalom your brother. And see, with you is Shimei son of Gera, the Binyamite from Bahurim, who cursed me with a grievous cursing in the day when I went to Mahanaim. But he came down to meet me at the Yarden, and I swore to him by Yahuah, saying, I shall not put you to death with the sword. And now, do not leave him unpunished, for you are a wise man, and know what you should do to him, and shall bring his grey hair down to Sheol with blood. And Dawid slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of Dawid. And the days that Dawid reigned over Yisrael was 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron, and in Jerusalem he reigned 33 years. And Shelomo sat on the throne of his father Dawid, and his reign was firmly established. And Adoniyahu son of Haggith came to Bathsheba the mother of Shelomo, and she said, Do you come in peace? And he said, Peace. And he said, I have a word for you. And she said, Speak. And he said, You know that the reign was mine, and all Yisrael had set their faces toward me, that I should reign. But the reign has been turned around, and has become my brother's, for it was his from Yahuah. And now I am making one request of you. Do not refuse me. And she said to him, Say it. And he said, Please speak to sovereign Shelomo, for he would not refuse you, to give me Abishag the Shunammite as wife.
And Bathsheba said, Good. Let me speak for you to the sovereign.
And Bathsheba came to sovereign Shelomo to speak to him for Adoniyahu. And the sovereign rose up to meet her, and bowed down to her, and sat down on his throne, and had a throne set for the sovereign's mother. So she sat at his right hand, and she said, I am making one small request of you. Do not refuse me. And the sovereign said to her, Ask it, my mother, for I do not refuse you. Then she said, Let Abishag the Shunammite be given to Adoniyahu, your brother, as wife. And sovereign Shelomo answered, and said to his mother, Now why do you ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adoniyahu? Ask for him the reign also, for he is my older brother, for him, and for Ebiathar the priest, and for Joab son of Zeruiah. And sovereign Shelomo swore by Yahuah, saying, Elohim does so to me, and more also, if Adoniyahu has not spoken this word against his own life.
And now, as Yahuah lives, who established me and set me on the throne of Dawid my father, and who has made me a house, as he promised, Adoniyahu shall be put to death today.
And sovereign Shelomo sent by the hand of Benaiyahu, son of Jehoiada, and he fell upon him, and he died. Then the sovereign said to Ebiathar the priest, Go to Anathoth, to your own fields, for you deserve death. But I do not put you to death at this time, because you did bear the ark of the Master Yahuwah before my father Dawid, and because you were afflicted in all my father was afflicted in. So Shelomo dismissed Ebiathar from being priest to Yahuwah, to fill the word of Yahuwah, which he spoke concerning the house of Eli at Shiloh. And news came to Joab, for Joab had turned aside after Adoniah, though he did not turn aside after Absalom. And Joab fled to the tent of Yahuwah, and took hold of the horns of the slaughter place. And the report came to sovereign Shelomo that Joab had fled to the tent of Yahuwah. And see, he is by the slaughter place. Then Shelomo sent Benayahu son of Jehoiada, saying, Go, fall on him. So Benayahu came to the tent of Yahuwah, and said to him, Thus said the sovereign, Come out. And he said, No, for here I die. And Benayahu brought back word to the sovereign, saying, Thus said Joab, and thus he answered me. And the sovereign said to him, Do as he has said, and fall upon him, and you shall bury him, so that you take away from me, and from the house of my father, the blood which Joab shed without cause. Thus Yahuwah shall return his blood on his head, because he had fallen on 2 men more righteous and better than he, and killed them with the sword, while my father Dawid did not know it. Abner, son of Ner, commander of the army of Yisrael, and Amasa, son of Jether, commander of the army of Yehudah. So shall their blood return upon the head of Joab, and upon the head of his seed forever. But upon Dawid and his seed, upon his house and his throne, there is to be peace forever from Yahuwah. Then Benayahu son of Jehoiada went up and fell upon him, and put him to death. And he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. And the sovereign put Benayahu son of Jehoiada in his place over the army. And the sovereign put Zadok the priest in the place of Ebiathar. And the sovereign sent and called for Shimei, and said to him, Build yourself a house in Jerusalem, and dwell there, and do not go out from there anywhere. And it shall be, on the day you go out and pass over the Wadi Kidron, know for certain that you shall die. Your blood is on your own head. And Shimei said to the sovereign, The word is good. As my master, the sovereign, has said, so your servant does. So Shimei dwelt in Jerusalem many days. And it came to be at the end of 3 years that 2 slaves of Shimei fled to Achish, son of Maacah, sovereign of Gath. And they informed Shimei, saying, See, your slaves are in Gath. And Shimei rose up and saddled his donkey, and went to Achish at Gath to look for his slaves. And Shimei went and brought his slaves from Gath. And Shelomo was told that Shimei had gone from Jerusalem to Gath, and had come back. So the sovereign sent and called for Shimei, and said to him, Did I not make you swear by Yahuwah, and warn you, saying, Know for certain that on the day you leave to go anywhere, you shall certainly die? And you said to me, The word I have heard is good. And why have you not guarded the oath of Yahuwah and the command that I gave you? The sovereign also said to Shimei, "You shall know all the evil that your heart has known, that you did to my father David, and Yahuah shall return your evil on your own head."
But sovereign Shelomo is blessed, and the throne of David is established before Yahuah forever.
So the sovereign commanded Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, and he went out and fell on him, and he died. And the reign was established in the hand of Shelomo, and Shelomo joined in marriage with Pharaoh sovereign of Mitzrayim, and took the daughter of Pharaoh, and brought her to the city of David, until he had completed building his own house, and the house of Yahuah, and the wall all around Jerusalem. Only the people slaughtered at the high places, for a house for the name of Yahuah had not been built until those days. And Shelomo loved Yahuah, walking in the laws of his father David, except that he slaughtered and burned incense at the high places, and the sovereign went to Gibeon to slaughter there, for that was the great high place. Shelomo offered 1,000 ascending offerings on that slaughter place. At Gibeon Yahuah appeared to Shelomo in a dream by night, and Elohim said, "Ask what I should give you." And Shelomo said, "You have shown great loving commitment to your servant David, my father, as he walked before you in truth, and in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart with you. And you have guarded for him this great loving commitment, and did give him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Yahuah, my Elohim, you have set up your servant to reign instead of my father David. But I am a little child. I do not know how to go out or to come in. And your servant is in the midst of your people whom you have chosen, a great people, too numerous to be numbered or counted. Shall you then give to your servant an understanding heart to rule your people, to discern between good and evil? For who is able to rule this great people of yours? And the word was good in the eyes of Yahuah, that Shelomo had asked this. So Elohim said to him, "Because you have asked this, and have not asked long life for yourself, nor have asked riches for yourself, nor have asked the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself discernment to understand right ruling. See, I shall do according to your words. See, I shall give you a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like you before you, and none like you shall arise after you. And I shall also give you what you have not asked, both riches and esteem, so that there shall not be anyone like you among the sovereigns all your days. And if you walk in my ways, to guard my laws and my commands, as your father David walked, then I shall prolong your days." And Shelomo awoke, and see, it was a dream. And he came into Jerusalem, and stood before the ark of the covenant of Yahuah, and offered up ascending offerings, and made peace offerings. And he made a feast for all his servants. Then 2 women, whores, came to the sovereign, and stood before him. And one woman said, "O my master, this woman and I dwell in the same house, and I gave birth while she was in the house. And it came to be, the 3rd day after I had given birth, that this woman also gave birth, and we were together. There was no one else with us in the house, only the two of us in the house. Then this woman's son died in the night, because she lay on him. And she rose up in the middle of the night and took my son from my side, while your female servant slept, and laid him in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And I rose up in the morning to nurse my son, and saw he was dead. But I looked at him closely in the morning, and saw he was not my son, whom I had borne. And the other woman said, No, but the living one is my son, and the dead one is your son. And the first woman said, No, for the dead one is your son, and the living one is my son. And they spoke before the sovereign. And the sovereign said, The one says, This is my son who lives, and your son is the dead one. While the other says, No, for your son is the dead one, and my son is the living one. And the sovereign said, Bring me a sword. So they brought a sword before the sovereign. And the sovereign said, Divide the living child in two, and give half to one, and half to the other. And the woman whose son was living spoke to the sovereign, for she was overcome with compassion for her son. And she said, O my master, give her the living child, and by no means kill him. But the other said, Let him be neither mine nor yours, but divide him. And the sovereign answered and said, Give the first woman the living child, and by no means kill him. She is his mother. And all Yisrael heard of the right ruling which the sovereign had rendered. And they feared the sovereign, for they saw that the wisdom of Elohim was in him to do right ruling. And it came to be that sovereign Shelomo was sovereign over all Yisrael, and these were his chief officials: Azariahu son of Tzadok, the priest; Elihoreph and Ahijah, sons of Shisha, scribes; Jehoshaphat son of Ahilud, the recorder; and Benayahu son of Jehoiada, over the army; and Sadok and Abiathar, the priests; and Azariahu son of Nathan, over the officers; Zabud son of Nathan, a priest, friend of the sovereign; and Ahisha, over the household; and Adoniram son of Abda, over the compulsory labor. And Shelomo had 12 governors over all Yisrael, who provided food for the sovereign and his household. Each one made provision for one new moon of the year. And these were their names: Ben-Hur, in the mountains of Ephraim; Ben-Deker, in Makatz and Sha'albim, and Beth-Shemesh, and Elon Beth-Hanan; Ben-Hesed in Arabath; Soko, and all the land of Hepher were his; Ben-Abinadab, all the height of Dor; Taphath, the daughter of Shelomo, became his wife; Baana, son of Ahilud, in Ta'anak and Megiddo; and all Beth Shean, which is beside Sarethan, below Yisrael, from Beth Shean to Abel Meholah, as far as the other side of Yokneam; Ben-Geber, in Ramoth Gilad; The towns of Yair, son of Manasseh, in Gilad were his. The portion of Argob in Bashan, 60 large cities with walls and bronze gate bars, were his. Ahinadab, son of Iddo, in Mahanaim, Ahimaatz in Naphtali. He also took Basemath, the daughter of Shelomoh, as wife. Baana, son of Hushai, in Asher, and in Aloth. Jehoshaphat, son of Peruah, in Yissaskar. Shimei, son of Elah, in Binyamin. Geber, son of Uri, in the land of Gilad, in the land of Sihon, sovereign of the Amorites, and of Og, sovereign of Bashan. And one governor was in the land. Yehudah and Yisrael were as numerous as the sand by the sea, eating and drinking and rejoicing. And Shelomoh was ruling over all reigns from the river to the land of the Philistines, as far as the border of Mitzrayim. They did task work and served Shelomoh all the days of his life. And Shelomoh's food supply for one day was 30 cors of fine flour, and 60 cors of meal, 10 fatted cattle, and 20 cattle from the pastures, and 100 sheep, besides deer and gazelles, and roebucks, and fatted fowl. For he was ruling over all on this side of the river, from Tifsah even to Azar, over all the sovereigns on this side of the river. And he had peace on all sides round about him. And Yehudah and Yisrael dwelt safely, each man under his vine and his fig tree, from Dan as far as Beersheba, all the days of Shelomoh. And Shelomoh had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, and 12,000 horsemen. And these governors, each one in his new moon, provided food for sovereign Shelomoh, and for all who came to the table of sovereign Shelomoh. There was no lack in their supply. They also brought barley and straw to the appointed place, for the horses and steeds, each one according to his right ruling. And Elohim gave Shelomoh exceeding great wisdom and understanding, and largeness of heart like the sand on the seashore. And Shelomoh's wisdom excelled the wisdom of all the men of the east, and all the wisdom of Mitzrayim, for he was wiser than all men, than Etham the Ezrahite, and Heman, and Calcol, and Darda, the sons of Mahol. And his name was in all the nations round about. And he spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. And he spoke of trees, from the cedar tree of Lebanon, even to the hyssop that springs out of the wall. And he spoke of beasts, and of birds, and of creeping creatures, and of fish. And there came from all peoples, from all the sovereigns of the earth, who had heard of his wisdom, to hear the wisdom of Shelomoh. And Hiram, sovereign of Tsor, sent his servants to Shelomoh, because he heard that they had anointed him sovereign in place of his father. For Hiram had always loved David. And Shelomoh sent to Hiram, saying, "You know my father, David was unable to build a house for the name of Yahuah, his Elohim, because of the battles which were all around him, until Yahuah put them under the soles of his feet. But now Yahuah my Elohim has given me rest all around. There is neither adversary nor evil incident. And see, I intend to build a house for the name of Yahuah my Elohim, as Yahuah spoke to my father David, saying, Your son, whom I set on your throne in your place, he does build the house for my name. And now, command that they cut down cedars for me from Lebanon, and let my servants be with your servants, and let me pay you wages for your servants according to whatever you say. For you know there is none among us who knows to cut timber like the Sidonians. And it came to be, when Hiram heard the words of Shelomoh, that he rejoiced greatly and said, Blessed be Yahuah this day, for he has given David a wise son over this great people. And Hiram sent to Shelomoh, saying, I have heard that which you sent me. Let me do all you desire concerning the cedar and cypress logs. Let my servants bring them down from Lebanon to the sea. Then I put them in rafts by sea to the place you direct me, and I shall spread them out there. Then you take them up, while you do my desire by giving food for my household. And Hiram gave Shelomoh cedar and cypress logs, all his desire. And Shelomoh gave Hiram 20,000 cors of wheat as food for his household, and 20 cors of pressed oil. Thus Shelomoh gave to Hiram year by year. And Yahuah gave Shelomoh wisdom, as he promised him. And there was peace between Hiram and Shelomoh, and the two of them made a covenant. And sovereign Shelomoh raised up compulsory labor out of all Yisrael. And the compulsory labor was 30,000 men. And he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 per new moon by courses. They were 1 new moon in Lebanon, 2 new moons at home. And Adoniram was over the compulsory labor. And Shelomoh had 70,000 bearing burdens, and 80,000 hewing stone in the mountains, besides 3,300 from the chiefs of Shelomoh's deputies who were over the work, those ruling over the people who labored in the work. And the sovereign commanded, and they brought large stones, precious stones, to lay the foundation of the house with hewn stones, and Shelomoh's builders, and Hiram's builders, and the men of Gebal did hew, and prepared timber and stones to build the house. And it came to be, in the 480th year, after the children of Yisrael had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, in the 4th year of the reign of Shelomoh over Yisrael, in the new moon of Zu, which is the 2nd new moon, that he began to build the house of Yahuah. And the house which sovereign Shelomoh built for Yahuah was 60 cubits long, and 20 wide, and 30 cubits high. And the porch at the front of the hekal of the house was 20 cubits long, according to the breadth of the house, and its width 10 cubits from the front of the house. And he made for the house windows with narrowed frames. And against the wall of the house he built rooms all around, against the walls of the house, all around the hekal and the speaking place. Thus he made side rooms all around. The lowest side room was 5 cubits wide, and the middle one was 6 cubits wide, and the third one was 7 cubits wide. For he made narrow ledges around the outside of the house, so as not to lay hold on the walls of the house. And the house, when it was being built, was built with finished stone made ready beforehand, so that no hammer or chisel or any iron tool was heard in the house while it was being built. The doorway for the middle side room was on the right side of the house. And they went up by stairs to the middle side rooms, and from the middle to the third. So he built the house and completed it. And he panelled the house with beams and boards of cedar. And he built the side rooms of the structure against all the house, each 5 cubits high, and they were fastened to the house with cedar beams.
And the word of Yahuah came to Shelomoh, saying,
This house which you are building, if you walk in my laws and do my right rulings, and shall guard all my commands and walk in them, then I shall confirm my word with you, which I spoke to your father David, and shall dwell in the midst of the children of Yisrael, and not forsake my people Yisrael. So Shelomoh built the house and completed it. And he built the walls of the house inside with cedar boards. From the floor of the house to the ceiling, he panelled them on the inside with wood, and covered the floor of the house with planks of cypress. And he built 20 cubits at the rear of the house, from floor to the walls, with cedar boards. And he built it inside as the speaking place, as the most set-apart place. And the house was 40 cubits. It is the Hekal before it. And the cedar for the house inside was carved with ornaments and open flowers. All was cedar. Not a stone was seen. And he prepared the speaking place in the midst of the house, to place the ark of the covenant of Yahuah there. And the front of the speaking place was 20 cubits long, and 20 cubits wide, and 20 cubits high. And he overlaid it with refined gold, and overlaid the slaughter place of cedar. And Shelomoh overlaid the inside of the house with refined gold, and made gold chains pass over the front of the speaking place, and overlaid it with gold. Thus he overlaid the entire house with gold, until the entire house was completed, and the entire slaughter place that was by the speaking place he overlaid with gold. And inside the speaking place he made 2 cherubim of olive wood, 10 cubits high, and one wing of the cherub was 5 cubits, and the other wing of the cherub 5 cubits, 10 cubits from the tip of one wing to the tip of the other. And the other cherub was 10 cubits. Both cherubim were of the same size and shape. The height of one cherub was 10 cubits, and so was the other cherub. And he placed the cherubim in the midst of the inner house. And they stretched out the wings of the cherubim, so that the wing of the one touched one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall, and their wings touched each other in the middle of the room. And he overlaid the cherubim with gold, and he carved all the walls of the house all around, both inside and outside, with carved figures of cherubim, and palm trees, and open flowers. And he overlaid the floor of the house with gold, inside and outside. And for the entrance of the speaking place, he made doors of olive wood, the lintel, doorposts, a 5th, and the 2 doors were of olive wood. And he carved on them figures of cherubim, and palm trees, and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold. And he spread the gold on the cherubim, and on the palm trees. And so he made doorposts for the door of the Hekal of olive wood, a 4th part. And the 2 doors were of cypress wood, the 2 leaves of the one folded, and 2 leaves of the other door folded, And he carved cherubim and palm trees and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold laid smoothly on the carved work. And he built the inner courtyard with 3 rows of hewn stone and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year, the foundation of the house of Yahuah was laid. In the month Ziu, and in the 11th year, in the month Bul, the 8th new moon, the house was completed in all its matters and according to all its plans. Thus he built it for 7 years, and Shelomo built his own house for 13 years, and he completed his entire house. And he built the house of the forest of Lebanon. It was 100 cubits long, and 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high, with 4 rows of cedar columns, and cedar beams on the columns. And it was panelled with cedar above the beams that were on 45 columns, 15 to a row. And there were windows with narrowed frames in 3 rows, and window was opposite window 3 times. And all the doorways and doorposts had square frames, and window was opposite window 3 times. And he made the porch of the columns, 50 cubits long and 30 cubits wide. And the porch was in front of them, and the columns and the roof was in front of them. And he made a hall for the throne, the hall of right ruling, where he ruled. And it was panelled with cedar from floor to floor. And the house where he was to dwell, in the other courtyard, within the hall, was of like workmanship. And Shelomo made a house like this hall for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken. All these were of precious stone hewn to size, sawed with a saw, inside and out, from the foundation to the coping, and also on the outside to the great courtyard. And the foundation was of precious stone, large stones, stones of 10 cubits, and stones of 8 cubits. And above were precious stones, hewn to size, and cedar wood. So the great courtyard all around had 3 rows of hewn stones and a row of cedar beams, as was the inner courtyard of the house of Yahuah, and the porch of the house. And sovereign Shelomo sent and brought Hiram from Tzor. He was the son of a widow from the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tzor, a bronze worker. And he was filled with wisdom and understanding and skill in working with all kinds of bronze work. So he came to sovereign Shelomo and did all his work. And he cast 2 columns of bronze, each one 18 cubits high, and a line of 12 cubits measured the circumference of each. And he made 2 capitals of cast bronze to put on the tops of the columns. The height of one capital was 5 cubits, and the height of the other capital was 5 cubits. A lattice network with wreaths of chainwork for the capitals which were on top of the columns. 7 chains for one capital, and 7 for the other capital. And he made the columns, and 2 rows of pomegranates above the network all around to cover the capitals that were on top. And so he did for the other capital. And the capitals that were on top of the columns in the hall were in the shape of lilies, 4 cubits. And there were capitals above also on the 2 columns, by the bulge which was next to the network. And the pomegranates were 200, in rows on each of the capitals all around. And he set up the columns by the porch of the Hekel, And he set up the column on the right, and called its name Yakin. And he set up the column on the left, and called its name Boaz. And on the top of the columns was lily work. Thus the work of the columns was completed. And he made the sea of cast metal, 10 cubits from one rim to the other, round all about, and 5 cubits high, and a line of 30 cubits measured around it. And below its rim were ornaments all around, 10 to a cubit, all the way around the sea. The ornaments were cast in 2 rows when it was cast. It stood on 12 oxen, 3 facing north, and 3 facing west, and 3 facing south, and 3 facing east. And the sea was set upon them, and all their back parts were inward. And it was a handbreadth thick, and its rim was shaped like the rim of a cup, like a lily blossom. It held 2,000 baths. And he made 10 stands of bronze. Each stand was 4 cubits long, and 4 cubits wide, and 3 cubits high. And this is how the stands were made. They had side panels, and the side panels were between frames. And on the side panels that were between the frames were lions, oxen, and cherubim, and a pedestal above on the frame. Below the lions and oxen were wreaths of beaten work. And each stand had 4 bronze wheels and axles of bronze. And its 4 feet had supports. Under the basin were cast supports beside each wreath. And its opening inside the crown at the top was 1 cubit. And the opening was round, like the work of the pedestal, 1.5 cubits. And also on the opening were engravings, but the side panels were square, not round. And the 4 wheels were under the side panels, and the axles of the wheels were joined to the stand, and the height of a wheel was 1.5 cubits. And the wheels were made like chariot wheels. Their axle pins, and their rims, and their spokes, and their hubs were all cast. And there were 4 supports at the 4 corners of each stand. Its supports were of the stand itself, and on the top of the stand 1/2 cubit in height, round all around. And on the top of the stand, its flanges and its side panels were of the same. And on the plates of its flanges, and on its side panels, he engraved cherubim, lions, and palm trees, according to the clear space on each, with wreaths all around. He made the 10 stands like this. All of them were of 1 mold, 1 measure, and 1 shape. And he made 10 basins of bronze. Each basin contained 40 baths, and each basin was 4 cubits, 1 basin on each of the 10 stands. And he put 5 stands on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. And he put the sea on the right side of the house to the east, facing the south. And Hiram made the pots and the shovels and the bowls. And Hiram completed doing all the work that he was to do for sovereign Shelomo on the house of Yahuah. The 2 columns and the bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the columns, and the 2 networks covering the 2 bowl-shaped capitals which were on top of the columns, and the 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, 2 rows of pomegranates for each network to cover the 2 bowl-shaped capitals that were on top of the columns, and the 10 stands, and the 10 basins on the stands, and the 1 sea, and 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots, and the shovels, and the bowls. And all these utensils which Hiram made for sovereign Shelomo for the house of Yahuah were of polished bronze. The sovereign had them cast in clay in the district of Yarden, between Sukkoth and Sarethan. And Shelomo left all the utensils unweighed, because they were many, nor was the weight of the bronze searched out. So Shelomo made all the utensils for the house of Yahuah, the slaughter place of gold, and the table of gold on which was the showbread, and the lampstands of refined gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left in front of the speaking place, with the flowers and the lamps and the snuffers of gold, and the basins and the snuffers and the bowls and the ladles and the fire holders of refined gold and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, the most set-apart place, and for the doors of the house of the Hekal. Thus all the work which sovereign Shelomo had done for the house of Yahuah was completed. And Shelomo brought in the set-apart items of his father David, the silver and the gold and the utensils, and he put them in the treasuries of the house of Yahuah. Then Shelomo assembled the elders of Yisrael and all the heads of the tribes, the chief fathers of the children of Yisrael, to sovereign Shelomo in Jerusalem, to bring up the ark of the covenant of Yahuah from the city of David, which is Zion. And all the men of Yisrael assembled to sovereign Shelomo at the festival in the month of Athanim, which is the 7th new moon. And all the elders of Yisrael came. And the priest took up the ark, and brought up the ark of Yahuah, and the tent of appointment, and all the set-apart utensils that were in the tent. And the priests and the Levites brought them up. And sovereign Shelomo, and all the congregation of Yisrael who had assembled with him, were with him before the ark, slaughtering so many sheep and cattle that they could not be counted or numbered. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of Yahuah to its place, into the speaking place of the house, to the most set-apart place, under the wings of the cherubim. For the cherubim spread 2 wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubim covered over the ark and its poles. And the poles extended, so that the ends of the poles were seen from the set-apart place, in front of the speaking place, but they were not seen from outside. And they are there to this day. There was naught in the ark, only the 2 tablets of stone which Moshe put there at Horeb, where Yahuah made a covenant with the children of Yisrael when they came out of the land of Mitzrayim. And it came to be, when the priests came out of the set-apart place, that the cloud filled the house of Yahuah, so that the priests were unable to stand and perform the service because of the cloud, for the esteem of Yahuah filled the house of Yahuah. And Shelomo said, Yahuah has said he would dwell in the dark cloud. I have indeed built you an exalted house, an established place for you to dwell in forever. And the sovereign turned around and blessed all the assembly of Yisrael, while all the assembly of Yisrael was standing. And he said, Blessed be Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, who spoke with his mouth to my father, David, and with his hand has filled it, saying, Since the day I brought my people Yisrael out of Mitzrayim, I have chosen no city from any tribe of Yisrael in which to build a house for my name to be there. But I chose David to be over my people Yisrael. And it was in the heart of my father David to build a house for the name of Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael. But Yahuah said to my father David, because it has been in your heart to build a house for my name, you did well that it was in your heart. Only you do not build the house, but your son, who is coming from your loins, he does build the house for my name. Now Yahuah has established his word which he spoke, and I have been raised up instead of my father David, and sit on the throne of Yisrael, as Yahuah promised, and built a house for the name of Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, and have appointed there a place for the ark, wherein is the covenant of Yahuah which he made with our fathers, when he brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. And Shelomo stood before the slaughter place of Yahuah in front of all the assembly of Yisrael, and spread out his hands toward the heavens, and said, Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, there is no Elohim in the heavens above or on earth below like you, guarding your covenant and loving commitment with your servants, who walk before you with all their heart, who has guarded that which you did promise, your servant David my father. Indeed, you have both spoken with your mouth, and have filled it with your hand, as it is this day. And now, Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, guard what you promised your servant David my father, saying, there is not to cease a man of yours before me, sitting on the throne of Yisrael. Only, if your sons guard their way, to walk before me, as you have walked before me. And now, O Elohim of Yisrael, please let your word come true, which you have spoken to your servant David my father. For is it true? Elohim dwells on the earth. See, the heavens and the heavens of the heavens are unable to contain you. How much less this house which I have built? Yet shall you turn to the prayer of your servant and his supplication, O Yahuah my Elohim, and listen to the cry and the prayer which your servant is praying before you today? For your eyes to be open toward this house night and day, toward the place of which you said, my name is there, to listen to the prayer which your servant makes toward this place. Then shall you hear the supplication of your servant and of your people Yisrael when they pray toward this place, when you hear in your dwelling place, in the heavens, and shall you hear and forgive? If anyone sins against his neighbor, and he has lifted up an oath on him, to cause him to swear, and comes and swears before your slaughter place in this house, then hear in the heavens, and act and rightly rule your servants, declaring the wrongdoer wrong, bringing his way on his head, and declaring the righteous right by giving him according to his righteousness. When your people Yisrael are smitten before an enemy, because they have sinned against you, and they shall turn back to you and confess your name, and pray and make supplication to you in this house, then hear in the heavens, and forgive the sin of your people Yisrael, and bring them back to the land which you gave to their fathers. When the heavens are shut up, and there is no rain, because they sin against you, when they pray toward this place and confess your name, and turn from their sin, because you afflict them, then hear in the heavens, and forgive the sin of your servants, your people Yisrael. For you teach them the good way in which they should walk, and shall give rain on your land, which you have given to your people as an inheritance. When there is scarcity of food in the land, when there is pestilence, blight, mildew, locusts, grasshoppers, when their enemy distresses them in the land of their cities, any plague, any sickness, whatever prayer, whatever supplication made by any one of all your people Yisrael, each knowing the plague of his own heart, and shall spread out his hands toward this house, then hear in the heavens, your dwelling place, and forgive, and act, and render unto everyone according to all his ways, whose heart you know. Because you alone, know the hearts of all the sons of men, so that they fear you all the days that they live in the land which you gave to our fathers. Also, concerning a foreigner, who is not of your people Yisrael, but has come from a far land for your name's sake, since they hear of your great name, and your strong hand, and your outstretched arm. And he shall come and pray toward this house. Hear in the heavens your dwelling place, and do according to all for which the foreigner calls to you, so that all peoples of the earth know your name and fear you, as do your people Yisrael, and know that this house which I have built is called by your name. When your people go out to battle against their enemy, in the way that you send them, and they shall pray to Yahuah toward the city which you have chosen, and toward the house which I have built for your name, then shall you hear in the heavens their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause, when they sin against you. For there is no one who does not sin. And you become enraged with them, and give them to the enemy, and they take them captive to the land of the enemy, far or near. And they shall turn back unto their heart in the land where they have been taken captive, and shall turn and make supplication to you in the land of those who took them captive, saying, We have sinned and acted crookedly. We have committed wrong. And they shall turn back to you with all their heart and with all their being in the land of their enemies who led them away captive, and shall pray to you toward their land which you gave to their fathers, the city which you have chosen, and the house which I have built for your name. Then shall you hear in the heavens, your dwelling place, their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause, and forgive your people who have sinned against you, and all their transgressions which they have transgressed against you, and give them compassion before those who took them captive, and they shall have compassion on them. For they are your people and your inheritance, whom you brought out of Mitzrayim, out of the iron furnace. Let your eyes be open to the supplication of your servant and the supplication of your people Yisrael, to listen to them whenever they call to you. For you have separated them unto yourself for an inheritance out of all the peoples of the earth, as you spoke by the hand of your servant Moshe, when you brought our fathers out of Mitzrayim, O Master Yahuwah. And it came to be, when Shelomo had ended praying all this prayer and supplication to Yahuwah, that he rose up from before the slaughter place of Yahuwah, from kneeling on his knees with his hands spread up to the heavens. And he stood and blessed all the assembly of Yisrael with a loud voice, saying, Blessed be Yahuah, who has given rest to his people Yisrael, according to all that he promised. There has not failed one word of all his good word, which he promised through his servant Moshe. Yahuah our Elohim is with us, as he was with our fathers. He does not leave us nor forsake us, to incline our hearts to himself, to walk in all his ways, and to guard his commands and his laws and his right rulings, which he commanded our fathers. And let these words of mine, with which I have made supplication before Yahuah, be near Yahuah our Elohim day and night, to maintain the cause of his servant and the cause of his people Yisrael, the matter of each day in its day, so that all the peoples of the earth might know that Yahuah is Elohim, there is no one else. Let your heart therefore be perfect to Yahuah our Elohim, to walk in his laws and guard his commands, as at this day. And the sovereign and all Yisrael with him slaughtered slaughterings before Yahuah. And Shelomo slaughtered slaughterings of peace offerings, which he slaughtered to Yahuah, 22,000 bulls and 120,000 sheep. Thus the sovereign and all the children of Yisrael dedicated the house of Yahuah. On that day, the sovereign set apart the middle of the courtyard that was in front of the house of Yahuah. For there he made ascending offerings, and the grain offerings, and the fat of the peace offerings, because the bronze slaughter place that was before Yahuah was too small to contain the ascending offerings, and the grain offerings, and the fat of the peace offerings. And Shelomo at that time performed the festival, and all Yisrael with him. A great assembly from the entrance of Hamath to the Wadi of Mitzrayim, before Yahuah our Elohim, 7 days and 7 days, 14 days. On the 8th day he sent the people away, and they blessed the sovereign, and went to their tents rejoicing and glad of heart for all the goodness that Yahuah had done for his servant David, and for Yisrael his people. And it came to be, when Shelomo had finished building the house of Yahuah and the house of the sovereign, and all the desire of Shelomo which he was pleased to do, that Yahuah appeared to Shelomo the second time, as he had appeared to him at Gibon. And Yahuah said to him, I have heard your prayer and your supplication that you have made before me. I have set this house apart, which you have built, to put my name there forever. And my eyes and my heart shall always be there. And you, if you walk before me as your father David walked, in integrity of heart and in uprightness, to do according to all that I have commanded you, if you guard my laws and my right rulings, then I shall establish the throne of your reign over Yisrael forever, as I promised David your father, saying, There is not to cease a man of yours on the throne of Yisrael. If you at all turn back, you or your sons, from following me, and do not guard my commands, my laws, which I have set before you, but shall go and serve other mighty ones, and bow yourselves to them, then I shall cut off Yisrael from the face of the soil which I have given them, and send away from my presence this house which I have set apart for my name. And Yisrael shall be a proverb, and a mockery among all the peoples. And this house, which has been exalted, everyone who passes by it shall be astonished, and hiss, and say, Why has Yahuah done thus to this land and to this house? Then they shall say, Because they have forsaken Yahuah their Elohim, who brought their fathers out of the land of Mitzrayim, and they took hold of other mighty ones, and bowed themselves to them, and served them. That is why Yahuah has brought all this evil on them. And it came to be, at the end of 20 years, that Shelomoh had built the two houses, the house of Yahuah and the house of the sovereign. Hiram the sovereign of Sor had supplied Shelomoh with cedar and cypress and gold, as much as he desired. Then sovereign Shelomoh gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galil. And Hiram came from Sor to see the cities which Shelomoh had given him, but they were not right in his eyes. And he said, What are these cities you have given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Kabul, as they are to this day. And Hiram sent the sovereign 120 talents of gold. And this is the purpose of the compulsory labor which sovereign Shelomoh raised, to build the house of Yahuah, and his own house, and Millo, and the wall of Yerushalayim, and Hatzor, and Megiddo, and Giza. Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, had gone up and taken Giza, and burned it with fire, and had killed the Canaanites who dwelt in the city, and had given it as a payment for the bride to his daughter, Shelomoh's wife. And Shelomoh built Giza, and Lower Beth Horon, and Baalath, and Tamar in the wilderness, in the land of Yehudah, and all the storage cities that Shelomoh had, and cities for his chariots, and cities for his cavalry, and whatever Shelomoh desired to build in Yerushalayim, and in Lebanon, and in all the land of his rule. All the people who were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, who were not of the children of Yisrael. Their descendants who were left in the land after them, whom the children of Yisrael had not been able to destroy completely, from these Shelomoh raised compulsory labor, as it is to this day. But Shelomoh did not make slaves of the children of Yisrael, because they were men of battle, and his servants and his rulers and his officers and commanders of his chariots and his cavalry. These were the chiefs of the officials who were over the work of Shelomoh, 550, who ruled over the people who did the work. But the daughter of Pharaoh came up from the city of David to her house that he built for her. Then he built Millo. And 3 times a year Shelomoh brought ascending offerings and peace offerings on the slaughter place which he had built for Yahuah. And he burned incense with that which was before Yahuah. Thus gave completeness to the house. And sovereign Shelomoh built a fleet of ships at Etzion Geber, which is near Iloth on the shore of the Sea of Reeds, in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent his servants with the fleet, seamen who knew the sea, to work with the servants of Shelomoh. And they went to Ophir, and took 420 talents of gold from there, and brought it to sovereign Shelomoh. And the sovereigness of Sheba heard of the report of Shelomoh concerning the name of Yahuah, and came to try him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great company, with camels that bore spices, very much gold, and precious stones. And she came to Shelomoh, and she spoke with him about all that was in her heart. And Shelomoh answered all her questions. There was no matter hidden for the sovereign that he did not make known to her.
And the sovereigness of Sheba saw all the wisdom of Shelomoh, and the house that he had built,
and the food on his table, and the seating of his servants, and the service of his waiters, and their attire, and his cupbearers, and his ascending offerings which he offered in the house of Yahuah. And there was no more spirit in her. Then she said to the sovereign, "The word I heard in my own land about your words and your wisdom was true. But I did not believe the words until I came and saw with my own eyes. And see, I have not been told the half. Your wisdom and prosperity exceed the report which I heard. Blessed are your men, and blessed are these your servants, who stand continually before you, who are hearing your wisdom. Blessed be Yahuah your Elohim, who delighted in you, to put you on the throne of Yisrael, because Yahuah has loved Yisrael forever. Therefore, he made you sovereign to do right ruling and righteousness." And she gave the sovereign 120 talents of gold, and very many spices, and precious stones. Never again did so many spices come as the sovereignness of Sheba gave to sovereign Shelomoh. And also the ships of Hiram, which brought gold from Ophir, brought almug wood, a great many, and precious stones from Ophir. And the sovereign made steps of the almug wood for the house of Yahuah, and for the sovereign's house. Also lyres and harps for singers. No such almug wood has come or been seen to this day. And sovereign Shelomoh gave the sovereignness of Sheba all she desired, whatever she asked, besides what he gave her according to the hand of sovereign Shelomoh. And she turned and went to her land, she and her servants.
and the weight of gold that came to Shelomoh yearly was 666 talents of gold.
Besides that from men of travel, and the profit from traders, and from all the sovereigns of Arabia, and from the governors of the land. And sovereign Shelomoh made 200 large shields of beaten gold. 600 pieces of gold went into each shield,
And 300 shields of beaten gold. 3 minas of gold went into each shield. And the sovereign put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon.
And the sovereign made a great throne of ivory, and overlaid it with refined gold. The throne had 6 steps, and the top of the throne was round at the back. And there were armrests on either side of the place of the seat, and 2 lions stood beside the armrests. And 12 lions were standing there, one on each side of the 6 steps. The like of it was never made in any reign. And all the drinking vessels of sovereign Shelomoh were of gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of refined gold, not of silver, for this was reckoned of little value in the days of Shelomoh. For the sovereign had ships of Tarshish at sea with the fleet of Hiram. Once every 3 years the ships of Tarshish came bringing gold
and silver, ivory and apes and baboons.
And sovereign Shelomo was greater than any of the sovereigns of the earth in riches and wisdom. And all the earth sought the presence of Shelomo to hear his wisdom, which Elohim had put in his heart. And they were each bringing his present, objects of silver and objects of gold, and garments and armor and spices, horses and mules, the matter of a year by year. And Shelomo gathered chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, whom he stationed in the chariot cities, and with the sovereign in Jerusalem.
And the sovereign made silver as common in Jerusalem as stones, and he made cedars as plenty as the sycamores which are in the low country.
And Shelomo had horses brought out from Mitzrayim and Queh. The sovereign's merchants bought them in Queh at a price. And a chariot came up and went out from Mitzrayim for 600 pieces of silver, and a horse 150. And so, by their hand, they brought them out to all the sovereigns of the Hittites and the sovereigns of Aram. And sovereign Shelomo loved many foreign women, in addition to the daughter of Pharaoh, Moabite, Ammonite, Edomite, Sidonian, and Hittite women, from the nations of whom Yahuah had said to the children of Israel, "You do not go into them, and they do not go into you, for they shall certainly turn away your hearts after their mighty ones." Shelomo clung to these in love, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. And it came to be, when Shelomo was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other mighty ones, and his heart was not perfect with Yahuah his Elohim, as was the heart of his father, David.
And Shelomo went after Ashtoreth, the mighty one of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites.
Thus Shelomo did evil in the eyes of Yahuah, and did not follow Yahuah completely, like his father David. Then Shelomo built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, on the hill that is east of Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon.
And so he did for all his foreign wives, who burned incense and slaughtered to their mighty ones.
Therefore Yahuah was enraged with Shelomo, because his heart had turned away from Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, who had appeared to him twice, and had commanded him concerning this word, not to go after other mighty ones. But he did not guard what Yahuah had commanded. And Yahuah said to Shelomo, "Because you have done this, and have not guarded my covenant and my laws, which I have commanded you, I shall certainly tear the rain away from you, and give it to your servant.
Only I do not do it in your days, for the sake of your father David. Out of the hand of your son I shall tear it.
Only I shall not tear away all the rain, but give one tribe to your son, for the sake of my servant David, and for the sake of Jerusalem, which I have chosen." And Yahuah raised up an adversary against Shelomo, Hadad the Edomite. He was of the seed of the sovereign in Edom. And it came to be, when David was in Edom, and Joab the commander of the army had gone up to bury the slain, after he had struck every male in Edom. Joab remained there with all Yisrael for 6 new moons, until every male in Edom was cut off. That Hadad fled to go to Mitzrayim, he and certain Edomites of his father's servants with him, while Hadad was still a little child. And they arose from Midian and came to Paran, and took men with them from Paran, and came to Mitzrayim, to Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, who gave him a house, and ordered food for him, and gave him land. And Hadad found much favor in the eyes of Pharaoh, so that he gave him as wife the sister of his own wife, the sister of sovereigness Tapenes. And the sister of Tapenes bore him Genubath his son, whom Tapenes weaned in Pharaoh's house. And Genubath was in the house of Pharaoh, among the sons of Pharaoh. And Hadad heard in Mitzrayim that Dawid slept with his fathers, and that Joab, the commander of the army, was dead. And Hadad said to Pharaoh, "Let me go to my land." And Pharaoh said to him, "But what have you lacked with me, that you are now seeking to go to your own land?" And he answered, "No, but please let me go." And Elohim raised up another adversary against him, Rezon son of Eliada, who had fled from his master, Hadadezer sovereign of Tsobah, and gathered men to him, and became commander over a raiding band, when Dawid killed those of Tsobah. And they went to Damasek, and dwelt there, and reigned in Damasek. And he was an adversary of Yisrael all the days of Shelomoh, besides the trouble that Hadad caused. And he was hostile to Yisrael, and reigned over Aram. And a servant of Shelomoh, Yerobam son of Nebat, an Ephraimite from Sereda, whose mother's name was Seruah, a widow, also lifted up a hand against the sovereign. And this is what caused him to lift up a hand against the sovereign. Shelomoh had built Millo, repairing the breaks in the city of Dawid his father. And the man Yerobam was a brave man, and Shelomoh, seeing that the young man was doing his work well, made him the officer over all the compulsory labor of the house of Joseph. And it came to be at that time, when Yaroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahiah the Shilonite met him on the way, and he was wearing a new garment, and the two were alone in the field. And Ahiah took hold of the new garment that was on him, and tore it into 12 pieces, and said to Yaroboam, "Take for yourself 10 pieces, for thus said Yahuah, the Elohim of Yisrael, see, I am tearing the rein out of the hand of Shelomoh, and shall give 10 tribes to you, but he shall have 1 tribe for the sake of my servant Dawid, and for the sake of Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Yisrael, because they have forsaken me, and bow themselves to Ashtoreth, the mighty one of the Sidonians, to Chemosh, the mighty one of the Moabites, and to Milcom, the mighty one of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways, to do what is right in my eyes, and my laws, and my right rulings, as did his father Dawid. But I do not take all the rein out of his hand, because I have made him ruler all the days of his life for the sake of my servant David, whom I chose because he guarded my commands and my laws. And I shall take the reign out of his son's hand and give it to you, the 10 tribes. And to his son I give 1 tribe, so that my servant David shall always have a lamp before me in Jerusalem, the city which I have chosen for myself, to put my name there. So I take you, and you shall reign over all that your being desires, and you shall be sovereign over Yisrael. And it shall be, if you obey all that I command you, and shall walk in my ways, and do what is right in my eyes, to guard my laws and my commands, as my servant David did, then I shall be with you, and build for you a steadfast house, as I built for David, and shall give Yisrael to you. And because of this, I humble the seed of David, but not forever. And Shelomo sought to kill Jeroboam, but Jeroboam rose up and fled to Mitzrayim, to Shishak, sovereign of Mitzrayim, and was in Mitzrayim until the death of Shelomo. And the rest of the acts of Shelomo, all that he did, and his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the acts of Shelomo?
And the days that Shelomo reigned in Jerusalem over all Yisrael was 40 years.
So Shelomo slept with his fathers, and was buried in the city of David his father, and Rehoboam his son reigned in his place. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Yisrael had gone to Shechem to set him up to reign. And it came to be, when Jeroboam son of Nebat heard this, he was still in Mitzrayim, for he had fled from the presence of sovereign Shelomo, and had been dwelling in Mitzrayim, that they sent and called him. And Jeroboam and all the assembly of Yisrael came and spoke to Rehoboam, saying, Your father made our yoke hard, and now lighten the hard service of your father, and his heavy yoke which he put on us. Then we serve you. And he said to them, Go away for 3 days, then come back to me. And the people went. Then sovereign Rehoboam consulted the elders who stood before his father Shelomo while he still lived. And he said, What do you advise me to answer these people? And they spoke to him, saying, If you are a servant to these people today, and shall serve them, and shall answer them, and speak good words to them, then they shall be your servants all the days. But he ignored the advice the elders gave him, and consulted the young men who had grown up with him, who stood before him. And he said to them, What advice do you give? How should we answer this people who have spoken to me, saying, Lighten the yoke which your father put on us? And the young men who had grown up with him spoke to him, saying, Say this to this people who have spoken to you, saying, Your father made our yoke heavy, but you make it lighter on us. Say this to them, My little finger is thicker than my father's waist.
And now my father laid a heavy yoke on you, but I add to your yoke. My father flogged you with whips, but I flog you with scourges.
So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the 3rd day, as the sovereign had spoken, saying, Come back to me the 3rd day. But the sovereign answered the people harshly, and ignored the advice which the elders had given him. And he spoke to them according to the advice of the young men, saying,
My father made your yoke heavy, but I add to your yoke. My father flogged you with whips, but I flog you with scourges.
So the sovereign did not listen to the people, for the turn of events was from Yahuah, in order to establish his word, which Yahuah had spoken by Ahijah the Shilonite to Jeroboam son of Nebat. And all Yisrael saw that the sovereign did not listen to them. Then the people answered the sovereign, saying, What portion do we have in Dawid? And there is no inheritance in the son of Yishai. To your mighty ones, O Yisrael, now see to your own house, O Dawid. So Yisrael went to their tents. But as for the children of Yisrael who dwelt in the cities of Yehudah, Rehoboam reigned over them. And when sovereign Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was over the compulsory labor, all Yisrael stoned him with stones, and he died. And sovereign Rehoboam hastily mounted his chariot to flee to Jerusalem. Thus Yisrael revolted against the house of Dawid to this day. And it came to be when all Yisrael heard that Jeroboam had come back, they sent for him and called him to the congregation and set him up to reign over all Yisrael. There was none who followed the house of Dawid, except the tribe of Yehudah only. And Rehoboam came to Jerusalem, and he assembled all the house of Yehudah with the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen brave men, to fight against the house of Yisrael, to bring back the reign to Rehoboam son of Shelomoth. But the word of Elohim came to Shemaiah, the man of Elohim, saying, Speak to Rehoboam son of Shelomoth, sovereign of Yehudah, and to all the house of Yehudah and Benjamin, and to the rest of the people, saying, Thus said Yahuah, Do not go up or fight against your brothers, the children of Yisrael. Let every man return to his house, for this matter is from me. So they obeyed the word of Yahuah and turned back, according to the word of Yahuah. And Jeroboam built Shechem in the mountains of Ephraim and dwelt there. And he went out from there and built Penuel. And Jeroboam said in his heart, Now the reign shall return to the house of Dawid. If these people go up to do slaughterings in the house of Yahuah at Jerusalem, then the heart of this people shall turn back to their master, Rehoboam, sovereign of Yehudah, and they shall kill me and go back to Rehoboam, sovereign of Yehudah. So the sovereign took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said to the people, It is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. See, your mighty ones, O Yisrael, which brought you up from the land of Mitzrayim. And he set up one in Beth-el, and the other he put in Dan. And this matter became a sin, for the people went before the one as far as Dan. And he made the house of high places, and made priests from all sorts of people, who were not of the sons of Levi. And Jeroboam performed a festival on the 15th day of the 8th new moon, like the festival that was in Yehudah, and he offered on the slaughter place. So he did at Beth-el, slaughtering to the calves that he had made. And at Beth-el he appointed the priests of the high places which he had made. And he made offerings on the slaughter place which he had made at Beth-el on the 15th day of the 8th new moon, in the new moon which he had devised in his own heart. And he performed a festival for the children of Israel, and offered on the slaughter place and burned incense. And see, a man of Elohim went from Yehudah to Beth El by the word of Yahuah, while Yarab-am was standing by the slaughter place to burn incense. And he cried out against the slaughter place by the word of Yahuah, and said, O slaughter place, slaughter place. Thus said Yahuah, see, a son is to be born to the house of David. Yoshiyahu is his name. And on you he shall slaughter the priests of the high places who burn incense on you, and men's bones be burned on you. And he gave a sign the same day, saying, This is the sign which Yahuah has spoken. See, the slaughter place is split apart, and the ashes on it is poured out. And it came to be, when sovereign Yarabam heard the saying of the man of Elohim, who cried out against the slaughter place in Beth El, that he stretched out his hand from the slaughter place, saying, Seize him. Then his hand, which he stretched out toward him, dried up, so that he was unable to bring it back to him. And the slaughter place was split apart, and the ashes poured out from the slaughter place, according to the sign which the man of Elohim had given by the word of Yahuah. And the sovereign answered and said to the man of Elohim, Please appease the face of Yahuah, your Elohim, and pray for me, that my hand might be restored to me. And the man of Elohim appeased the face of Yahuah, and the sovereign's hand was restored to him, and became as it was before. The sovereign then said to the man of Elohim, Come home with me, and refresh yourself, and I give you a gift. But the man of Elohim said to the sovereign, If you were to give me half your house, I do not go in with you, nor do I eat bread nor drink water in this place. For so he commanded me by the word of Yahuah, saying, Do not eat bread, nor drink water, nor return by the same way you came. So he went another way, and did not return by the way he came to Beth El. And a certain old prophet was dwelling in Beth El, and his sons came and told him all the works that the man of Elohim had done that day in Beth El, the words which he had spoken to the sovereign. And their father said to them, Which way did he go? And his sons had seen which way the man of Elohim went, who came from Yehudah. And he said to his sons, Saddle the donkey for me. And they saddled the donkey for him, and he rode on it, and went after the man of Elohim, and found him sitting under a terebinth. And he said to him, Are you the man of Elohim who came from Yehudah? And he said, I am. And he said to him, Come home with me, and eat bread. And he said, I am not able to return with you, or to go in with you, nor am I to eat bread, or drink water with you in this place. For word came to me by the word of Yahuah, Do not eat bread, nor drink water there, nor return by going the way you came. And he said to him, I too am a prophet like you. And a messenger spoke to me by the word of Yahuah, saying, Bring him back with you to your house, and let him eat bread and drink water. But he lied to him. So he turned back with him, and ate bread in his house, and drank water. And it came to be, as they sat at the table, that the word of Yahuah came to the prophet who had brought him back. And he cried out to the man of Elohim who came from Yehudah, saying, Thus said Yahuah, because you have rebelled against the mouth of Yahuah, and have not guarded the command which Yahuah your Elohim commanded you, and turned back, and ate bread, and drank water, in the place of which he said to you, Do not eat bread nor drink water. Your body shall not enter the burial site of your fathers. And it came to be, after he had eaten bread, and after he had drunk, that he saddled the donkey for him, for the prophet whom he had brought back. And he went, and a lion met him on the way and killed him. And his body was thrown on the way. And the donkey was standing by it, and the lion was standing by the body. And see, men were passing by, and saw the body thrown on the way, while the lion was standing by the body. And they went and reported it in the city where the old prophet dwelt. And the prophet who had brought him back from the way heard it, and said, It is the man of Elohim who rebelled against the mouth of Yahuah. And Yahuah gave him to the lion, and it tore him apart and killed him, according to the word of Yahuah which he spoke to him. And he spoke to his sons, saying, Saddle the donkey for me. And they saddled it. So he went and found his body thrown on the way, and the donkey and the lion standing by the body. The lion had not eaten the body, nor mauled the donkey. And the prophet lifted up the body of the man of Elohim, and placed it on the donkey, and brought it back. And the old prophet came to the city to mourn, and to bury him. And he placed his body in his own burial site. And they lamented over him, saying, O my brother. And it came to be, after he had buried him, that he spoke to his sons, saying, When I am dead, then you shall bury me in the burial site, where the man of Elohim is buried. Lay my bones beside his bones. For the word which he cried out, by the word of Yahuah, against the slaughter place in Beth El, and against all the houses of the high places which are in the cities of Shomeron, shall certainly come to be. After this event, Yaroboam did not turn from his evil way, but again he made priests from all sorts of people for the high places. Whoever wished, he ordained to become one of the priests of the high places. And this matter was the sin of the house of Yaroboam, even to cut it off and destroy it from the face of the earth. At that time Abiah, the son of Yaroboam, became sick, and Yaroboam said to his wife, Please arise and disguise yourself, so they do not know that you are the wife of Yaroboam, and go to Shiloh. See, Ahijah the prophet is there, who spoke to me of becoming sovereign over this people. And you shall take with you 10 loaves and cakes and a jar of honey, and go to him. Let him declare to you what becomes of the child. And Yaroboam's wife did so,
and rose up and went to Shiloh, and came to the house of Ahiah. But Ahiyahu was unable to see, for his eyes had set because of his age. And Yahuah had said to Ahiyahu, "See, the wife of Jeroboam is coming to ask you a word about her son, for he is sick. Speak to her thus and thus, for it shall be, when she comes in, that she makes herself strange." And it came to be, when Ahiyahu heard the sound of her footsteps as she came through the door, he said, "Come in, wife of Jeroboam. Why are you making yourself strange? And I have been sent to you with a hard word. Go, say to Jeroboam, thus said Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, because I exalted you from among the people and made you ruler over my people Yisrael, and tore the reign away from the house of David and gave it to you. And you have not been as my servant David, who guarded my commands and who followed me with all his heart, to do only what was right in my eyes. But you have done more evil than all who were before you. For you have gone and made for yourself other mighty ones, and molded images to provoke me, and have cast me behind your back. Therefore, see, I am bringing evil to the house of Jeroboam, and shall cut off from Jeroboam every male in Yisrael, whether shut up or left at large, and sweep away the remnant of the house of Jeroboam, as one sweeps away dung until it is all gone. Those of Jeroboam who die in the city, the dogs do eat, and those who die in the field, the birds of the heavens do eat. For Yahuah has spoken it. And you, arise, go to your house. When your feet enter the city, the child shall die. And all Yisrael shall mourn for him and bury him. For he is the only one of Jeroboam who shall come to the burial site, because in him there is found a good report toward Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, in the house of Jeroboam. And Yahuah shall raise up for himself a sovereign over Yisrael, who cuts off the house of Jeroboam this day and even now. And Yahuah shall strike Yisrael, as a reed is shaken in the water, and shall pluck Yisrael from this good soil which he gave to their fathers, and shall scatter them beyond the river, because they made their Asherim, provoking Yahuah. And he shall give Yisrael up, because of the sins of Jeroboam, who sinned, and who made Yisrael sin. And the wife of Jeroboam rose up and went, and came to Tirzah. When she came to the threshold of the house, the child died, and they buried him. And all Yisrael lamented for him, according to the word of Yahuah, which he spoke through his servant, Ahiyahu the prophet. And the rest of the acts of Jeroboam, how he fought and how he reigned, see, they are written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yisrael. And the days that Jeroboam reigned was 22 years. So he slept with his fathers, and Nadab his son reigned in his place. Meanwhile, Rehoboam son of Shelomoth reigned in Yehudah. Rehoboam was 41 years old when he became sovereign, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city which Yahuah had chosen out of all the tribes of Yisrael to put his name there. And his mother's name was Naamah the Ammonitess. And Yehudah
did evil in the eyes of Yahuah, and they provoked him to jealousy with their sins which they committed, more than all that their fathers had done. For they also built for themselves high places, and pillars, and Asherim on every high hill, and under every green tree. And there were also cult prostitutes in the land. They did according to all the abominations of the nations which Yahuah dispossessed before the children of Yisrael. And it came to be, in the 5th year of sovereign Rehoboam, that Shishak, sovereign of Mitzrayim, came up against Jerusalem.
And he took away the treasures of the house of Yahuah, and the treasures of the sovereign's house. He even took away all. And he took away all the shields of gold which Shelomo had made.
And sovereign Rehoboam made shields of bronze to replace them, and entrusted them into the hands of the chiefs of the guard, who guarded the entrance of the sovereign's house. And it came to be, whenever the sovereign went into the house of Yahuah, the guards would bring them, then take them back into the guardroom. And the rest of the acts of Rehoboam, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yehudah? And there was fighting between Rehoboam and Yaroboam all the days. So Rehoboam slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And the name of his mother was Naamah the Ammonitess. And Abiyam his son reigned in his place, and in the 18th year of sovereign Yaroboam, son of Nebat, Abiyam became sovereign over Yehudah. He reigned 3 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Maacah, the granddaughter of Abishalom. And he walked in all the sins of his father, which he had done before him, and his heart was not perfect to Yahuah his Elohim, as was the heart of his father David. But for David's sake, Yahuah his Elohim gave him a lamp in Jerusalem to raise up his son after him, and by establishing Jerusalem, for David did what was right in the eyes of Yahuah, and did not turn aside from all that he commanded him all the days of his life, except in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. And there was fighting between Rehoboam and Yaroboam all the days of his life. And the rest of the acts of Abiyam, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yehudah? And there was fighting between Abiyam and Yaroboam. So Abiyam slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David. And Asa his son reigned in his place. And in the 20th year of Yaroboam sovereign of Yisrael, Asa became sovereign over Yehudah.
And he reigned 41 years in Jerusalem. And his grandmother's name was Maacah, the granddaughter of Abishalom.
And Asa did what was right in the eyes of Yahuah, as his father David had done, and put away the cult prostitutes from the land, and removed all the idols that his fathers had made. And he also removed Maacah, his grandmother, from being sovereigness mother, because she had made an abominable image for Asherah. And Asa cut down her abominable image and burned it by the Wadi Kidron. But the high places were not removed. However, Asa's heart was perfect with Yahuah all his days, and he brought into the house of Yahuah the set-apart items of his father, and his own set-apart items, silver and gold and utensils. And there was fighting between Asa and Baasha sovereign of Yisrael all their days. And Baasha sovereign of Yisrael came up against Yehudah and built Ramah to keep anyone from going out or coming in to Asa sovereign of Yehudah. And Asa took all the silver and gold that was left in the treasuries of the house of Yahuah and the treasuries of the sovereign's house, and gave them into the hand of his servants. And sovereign Asa sent them to Ben-Hadad, son of Tabrimmon, son of Hezion, sovereign of Aram, who dwelt in Damasek, saying, Let there be a covenant between you and me, as there was between my father and your father. Look, I have sent you a present of silver and gold. Come, break your covenant with Baasha, sovereign of Yisrael, so that he withdraws from me. And Ben-Hadad listened to sovereign Asa, and sent the commanders of his armies against the cities of Yisrael, and struck Eon, and Dan, and Abel Beth Maacah, and all Kinneroth, with all the land of Naphtali. And it came to be, when Baasha heard it, that he stopped building Ramah, and remained in Tirzah. Then sovereign Asa summoned all Yehudah. None was exempted. And they took away the stones and timber of Ramah, which Baasha had used for building. And with them, sovereign Asa built Geba of Binyamin, and Mitzpah, and the rest of all the acts of Asa, and all his might, and all that he did, and the cities which he built. Are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yehudah? But in the time of his old age, he was diseased in his feet. So Asa slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father. And Jehoshaphat his son reigned in his place. And Nadab son of Jeroboam became sovereign over Yisrael in the 2nd year of Asa, sovereign of Yehudah. And he reigned over Yisrael 2 years. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahuah, and walked in the way of his father, and in his sin, by which he had made Yisrael sin. Then Baasha, son of Ahiah, of the house of Yissaschar, conspired against him. And Baasha struck him at Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines, for Nadab and all Yisrael had laid siege to Gibbethon. And Baasha killed him in the 3rd year of Asa sovereign of Yehudah, and reigned in his place. And it came to be, when he became sovereign, that he struck all the house of Jeroboam. He did not leave to Jeroboam anyone breathing, until he had destroyed him, according to the word of Yahuah, which he had spoken by his servant Ahiah the Shilonite, because of the sins of Jeroboam, which he had sinned, and by which he had made Yisrael sin, because of his provocation, with which he had provoked Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael. And the rest of the acts of Nadab, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yisrael? And there was fighting between Asa and Baasha, sovereign of Yisrael, all their days. In the 3rd year of Asa, sovereign of Yehudah, Baasha, son of Ahiah, became sovereign over all Yisrael in Tirzah, and reigned 24 years. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahuah, and walked in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin, by which he had made Yisrael sin. Then the word of Yahuah came to Jehu son of Hanani against Baasha, saying, Because I raised you up out of the dust, and made you ruler over my people Yisrael, but you walked in the way of Jeroboam, and made my people Yisrael sin, to provoke me with their sins. See, I am going to sweep away Baasha and his house, and shall make your house like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat. Anyone belonging to Baasha who dies in a city the dogs eat, and anyone belonging to him who dies in a field the birds of the heavens eat. And the rest of the acts of Baasha, what he did and his might, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yisrael? So Baasha slept with his fathers and was buried in Tirzah, and his son Elah reigned in his place. Moreover, the word of Yahuah came by the prophet Jehu, son of Hanani, against Baasha and his house, because of all the evil that he did in the eyes of Yahuah, in provoking him with the work of his hands, in being like the house of Jeroboam, and because he struck them. In the 26th year of Asa sovereign of Yehudah, Elah son of Baasha began to reign over Yisrael in Tirzah 2 years. And his servant Zimri, commander of half his chariots, conspired against him as he was in Tirzah, drinking himself drunk in the house of Arza, who was over his house in Tirzah. Then Zimri came in and struck him and killed him in the 27th year of Asa sovereign of Yehudah, and reigned in his place. And it came to be, when he began to reign, as soon as he was seated on his throne, that he struck all the household of Baasha. He did not leave him one male, neither of his relatives, nor of his friends. So Zimri destroyed the entire house of Baasha, according to the word of Yahuah, which he spoke against Baasha by Jehu the prophet, for all the sins of Baasha, and the sins of Elah his son, by which they had sinned, and by which they had made Yisrael sin, in provoking Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael with their worthlessnesses, and the rest of the acts of Elah, and all that he did. Are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yisrael? In the 27th year of Asa sovereign of Yehudah, Zimri reigned 7 days in Tirzah. And the people were encamped against Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines. And the people who were encamped heard it said, Zimri has conspired, and also struck the sovereign. So all Yisrael set up Omri, the commander of the army, to reign over Yisrael that day in the camp. And Omri went up, and all Yisrael with him, from Gibbethon, and they besieged Tirzah. And it came to be, when Zimri saw that the city was captured, that he went into a high place of the sovereign's house, and burned the sovereign's house down upon himself with fire, and died, because of the sins which he had sinned in doing evil in the eyes of Yahuah, in walking in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin which he had committed to make Yisrael sin. And the rest of the acts of Zimri, and the conspiracy he made, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yisrael? Then the people of Yisrael were divided into 2 parts. Half of the people followed Tibni son of Ginath, to make him reign, and half followed Omri. But the people who followed Omri were stronger than the people who followed Tibni son of Ginath, and Tibni died, and Omri reigned. In the 31st year of Asa sovereign of Yehudah, Omri became sovereign over Yisrael, and reigned 12 years. He reigned 6 years in Tirzah. And he bought the hill of Shomeron from Shema for 2 talents of silver, and built on the hill, and called the name of the city which he built Shomeron, after the name of Shema. owner of the hill.
And Omri did evil in the eyes of Yahuah, and did evil more than all those before him,
and walked in all the ways of Jeroboam son of Nebat, and in his sin, by which he had made Yisrael sin, provoking Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael with their worthlessnesses.
and the rest of the acts of Omri which he did, and the might that he attained. Are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yisrael?
So Omri slept with his fathers, and was buried in Shomeron, and Ahab his son reigned in his place. In the 38th year of Asa sovereign of Yehudah, Ahab son of Omri became sovereign over Yisrael. And Ahab son of Omri reigned over Yisrael in Shomeron 22 years.
And Ahab son of Omri did evil in the eyes of Yahuah, more than all those before him.
And it came to be, as though it had been a light matter for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam son of Nebat, that he took as wife Isabel, the daughter of Ethbaal, sovereign of the Sidonians. And he went and served Baal, and bowed himself to it, and raised up a slaughter place for Baal in the house of Baal, which he had built in Shomeron. And Ahab made an Asherah, and Ahab did more to provoke Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael than all the sovereigns of Yisrael before him. In his days, Hiel of Beth El built Jericho. He laid its foundation at the cost of Abiram his firstborn, and at the cost of his youngest son Segub, he set up its gates, according to the word of Yahuah, which he had spoken through Yehoshua son of Nun, and Eliyahu the Tishbite, of the inhabitants of Gilad, said to Ahab, As Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael lives, before whom I stand, there shall be no dew or rain these years, except at my word. And the word of Yahuah came to him, saying, Go away from here, and turn eastward, and hide by the Wadi Kerith, which flows into the Yarden. And it shall be that you drink from the stream, and I shall command the ravens to feed you there. And he went and did according to the word of Yahuah. For he went and dwelt by the Wadi Kerith, which flows into the Yarden. And the ravens brought him bread and meat in the morning, and bread and meat in the evening, and he drank from the stream. And it came to be after a while that the stream dried up, because there had been no rain in the land. Then the word of Yahuah came to him, saying, Rise up, go to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and dwell there. See, I have commanded a widow there to sustain you. And he rose up and went to Zarephath, and came to the gate of the city, and saw a widow there gathering sticks. And he called and said to her, Please bring me a little water in a vessel to drink. And as she was going to get it, he called and said to her, Please bring me a piece of bread in your hand. And she said, As Yahuah your Elohim lives, I do not have bread, only a handful of flour in a bin, and a little oil in a jar. And see, I am gathering a couple of sticks, and shall go in and prepare it for myself and my son, and we shall eat it and die. And Eliah said to her, Do not fear, go and do as you have said, but make me a small cake from it first, and bring it to me. And afterward, make some for yourself and your son. For thus said Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, the bin of flour shall not be used up, nor the jar of oil run dry, until the day Yahuah sends rain on the earth. So she went and did according to the word of Eliyahu, and she and he and her household ate for many days. The bin of flour was not used up, nor did the jar of oil run dry, according to the word of Yahuah, which he spoke by Eliyahu. And after these events, it came to be that the son of the woman who owned the house became sick, and his sickness was very severe until there was no breath left in him. And she said to Eliyahu, "What have I to do with you, O man of Elohim? Have you come to me to bring my crookedness to be remembered and to kill my son?" And he said to her, "Give me your son." So he took him from her arms and took him to the upper room where he was dwelling and laid him on his own bed and cried out to Yahuah and said, "O Yahuah, my Elohim, have you also brought evil on the widow with whom I am sojourning, to kill her son?" And he stretched himself out on the child 3 times and cried out to Yahuah and said, "O Yahuah, my Elohim, I pray, let the life of this child come back to him." And Yahuah heard the voice of Eliyahu, and the life of the child came back to him, and he lived. And Eliyahu took the child and brought him down from the upper room into the house, and gave him to his mother. And Eliyahu said, "See, your son lives." And the woman said to Eliyahu, "Now by this I know that you are a man of Elohim, and that the word of Yahuah in your mouth is truth." And after many days it came to be that the word of Yahuah came to Eliyahu in the 3rd year, saying, "Go, present yourself to Ahab, and I give rain on the earth." Thereupon Eliyahu went to present himself to Ahab, and the scarcity of food in Shomeron was severe. And Ahab had called Obadiahu, who was over his house. Now Obadiahu feared Yahuah exceedingly. And it came to be, while Isabel cut down the prophets of Yahuah, that Obadiahu had taken 100 prophets and hidden them, 50 to a cave, and had fed them with bread and water. And Ahab had said to Obadiahu, "Go into the land to all the springs of water, and to all the wadis. It could be that we find grass to keep the horses and mules alive, and not have any livestock cut off." And they divided the land between them to pass over it. Ahab went one way by himself, and Obadiahu went another way by himself. And as Obadiahu was on his way, then see, Eliyahu met him, and he recognized him, and fell on his face, and said, "Is that you, my master Eliyahu?" And he answered him, "It is I. Go, say to your master, Eliyahu is here." And he said, "What have I sinned, that you are giving your servant into the hand of Ahab to kill me?"
As Yahuah your Elohim lives, there is no nation or reign where my master has not sent to look for you.
And when they said, "He is not here," he made the reign or nation swear that they could not find you. And now you say, "Go, say to your master, Eliyahu is here." And it shall be, as soon as I am gone from you, that the Spirit of Yahuah takes you away to a place I do not know. And I shall come to report to Ahab. And when he does not find you, he shall kill me. But I, your servant, have feared Yahuah from my youth. Was it not reported to my master what I did when Isabel killed the prophets of Yahuah? How I hid 100 men of the prophets of Yahuah, 50 to a cave, and fed them with bread and water. And now you say, "Go, say to your master, Eliyahu is here." Then he shall kill me. And Eliyahu said, "As Yahuah of hosts lives, before whom I stand, I shall indeed show myself to him today." Obadiah then went to meet Ahab and informed him, and Ahab went to meet Eliyahu. And it came to be, when Ahab saw Eliyahu, that Ahab said to him, "Is that you, O disturber of Yisrael?" And he answered, "I have not disturbed Yisrael, but you and your father's house, in that you have forsaken the commands of Yahuah, and you have followed the Baals. And now, send and gather all Yisrael to me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal, and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Isabel's table." Ahab then sent for all the children of Yisrael, and gathered the prophets on Mount Carmel. And Eliyahu came to all the people, and said, "How long would you keep hopping between two opinions? If Yahuah is Elohim, follow him, and if Baal, follow him." But the people answered him not a word. And Eliyahu said to the people, "I alone am left a prophet of Yahuah, but the prophets of Baal are 450 men. Now let them give us 2 bulls, and let them choose 1 bull for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on the wood, but set no fire. And I prepare the other bull, and shall lay it on the wood, but set no fire. And you shall call on the name of your mighty one, and I call on the name of Yahuah. And the Elohim who answers by fire, he is Elohim." So all the people answered and said, "The word is good." And Eliyahu said to the prophets of Baal, "Choose 1 bull for yourselves, and prepare it first, for you are many. And call on the name of your mighty one, but set no fire." So they took the bull which was given them, and prepared it, and called on the name of Baal from morning even until noon, saying, "O Baal, answer us." But there was no voice, and no one answered. And they leaped about the slaughter place which they had made. And it came to be at noon that Eliyahu taunted them and said, "Cry aloud, for he is a mighty one. He is meditating, or he is busy, or he is on a journey, or it could be that he is asleep and has to be awakened." And they cried aloud and cut themselves according to their ruling, with knives and spears, until the blood gushed out on them. And it came to be, when midday was past, that they prophesied until the time of bringing the evening offering,
But there was no voice, and no one answered, and no one paying attention. Then Eliyahu said to all the people, "Come closer to me." And all the people came closer to him. And he repaired the slaughter place of Yahuah that was broken down. And Eliyahu took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, to whom the word of Yahuah had come, saying, "Yisrael is your name." And with the stones he built a slaughter place in the name of Yahuah. And he made a trench around the slaughter place large enough to hold 2 chs of seed. And he arranged the wood and cut the bull in pieces and laid it on the wood and said, "Fill 4 jars with water and pour it on the ascending offering and on the wood." Then he said, "Do it a second time." And they did it a second time. And he said, "Do it a third time." And they did it a third time. And the water flowed around the slaughter place, and he filled the trench with water too. And it came to be, at the time of bringing the evening offering, that Eliyahu the prophet came near and said, "Yahuah Elohim of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yisrael, let it be known today, you are Elohim in Yisrael, and I, your servant, have done all these matters by your word. Answer me, O Yahuah, answer me, and let this people know that you are Yahuah Elohim, and you shall turn their hearts back to you again." Then the fire of Yahuah fell and consumed the ascending offering, and the wood, and the stones, and the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. And all the people saw, and fell on their faces, and said, "Yahuah, he is the Elohim. Yahuah, he is the Elohim." And Eliyahu said to them, "Seize the prophets of Baal. Do not let one of them escape." So they seized them, and Eliyahu brought them down to the Wadi Kishon and slew them there. And Eliyahu said to Ahab, "Go up, eat and drink, because of the sound of the noise of rain." And Ahab went up to eat and to drink. And Eliyahu went up to the top of Carmel. And he bowed down on the ground and put his face between his knees and said to his servant, "Go up, please, look closely toward the sea." So he went up and looked closely and said, "Not a speck." And 7 times he said, "Go again." And it came to be the 7th time that he said, "See, a little cloud as small as a man's hand is coming out of the sea." And he said, "Go up, say to Ahab, hitch up, and go down before the rain stops you." And in the meantime, it came to be that the heavens became black with clouds and wind, and there was a heavy rain, while Ahab rode and went to Yisrael. And the hand of Yahuah was on Eliyahu, and he girded up his loins and ran ahead of Ahab to the entrance of Yisrael. And when Ahab reported to Isabel all that Eliyahu had done, also how he slew all the prophets with the sword, Isabel sent a messenger to Eliyahu, saying, "So let the mighty ones do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time." And he feared, and rose up and ran for his life, and went to Beersheba, which belongs to Yehudah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a broom tree, and prayed that he might die, and said, "It is enough. Now, Yahuah, take my life, for I am no better than my fathers." And he lay and slept under a broom tree. And see, a messenger touched him and said to him, "Rise, eat." And he looked and saw by his head a cake baked on coals and a jar of water. So he ate and drank and turned and lay down. And the messenger of Yahuah came back the second time and touched him and said, "Rise, eat, for the journey is too much for you." And he rose up and ate and drank, and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights as far as Horeb, the mountain of Elohim. And there he went into a cave and spent the night there. And see, the word of Yahuah came to him and said to him, "What are you doing here, Eliyahu?" And he said, "I have been very jealous for Yahuah Elohim of hosts. For the children of Yisrael have forsaken your covenant. They have thrown down your slaughter places, and they have killed your prophets with the sword, and I am left, I alone, and they seek my life to take it." And he said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before Yahuah." And see, Yahuah passed by, and a great and strong wind tearing the mountains and breaking the rocks in pieces before Yahuah. Yahuah was not in the wind, and after the wind, an earthquake. Yahuah was not in the earthquake, and after the earthquake, a fire. Yahuah was not in the fire, and after the fire, a still small voice. And it came to be, when Eliyahu heard it, that he wrapped his face in his robe and went out and stood at the cave opening. And see, a voice came to him and said, "What are you doing here, Eliyahu?" And he said, "I have been very jealous for Yahuah Elohim of hosts. For the children of Yisrael have forsaken your covenant. They have thrown down your slaughter places, and they have killed your prophets with the sword, and I am left, I alone, and they seek my life to take it." And Yahuah said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damasek, and you shall go in and anoint Hazael as sovereign over Aram, and anoint Jehu son of Nimshi as sovereign over Yisrael, and anoint Elisha son of Shaphat of Abel Meholah as prophet in your place. And it shall be that whoever escapes the sword of Hazael, Jehu does kill, and whoever escapes from the sword of Jehu, Elisha does kill. And I shall leave 7,000 in Yisrael, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth that has not kissed him." And he went from there, and found Elisha, son of Shaphat, who was ploughing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he was with the 12th. And Eliyahu passed by him and threw his robe on him. And he left the oxen and ran after Eliyahu and said, "Please, let me kiss my father and my mother, and then I follow you." And he said to him, "Go, turn back, for what have I done to you?" And he turned back from him and took a yoke of oxen and slaughtered them and cooked their flesh, using the implements of the oxen, and gave it to the people, and they ate. Then he rose up and followed Eliyahu and became his servant. And Ben-Hadad, the sovereign of Aram, gathered all his army, and there were 32 sovereigns with him, with horses and chariots. And he went up and besieged Shomeron and fought against it. And he sent messengers into the city to Ahab, sovereign of Yisrael, and said to him, "Thus said Ben-Hadad, your silver and your gold are mine, and your wives and children, the best, are mine." And the sovereign of Yisrael answered and said, "As you say, my master, O sovereign, I am yours, and all that I have." And the messengers came back and said, "Thus speaks Ben-Hadad, saying, Indeed I have sent to you, saying, Give me your silver and your gold, your wives and your children. But about this time tomorrow I shall send my servants to you, and they shall search your house and the houses of your servants. And it shall be that whatever is pleasing in your eyes, they shall lay hold of and take it." And the sovereign of Yisrael called all the elders of the land and said, "Please know and see the evil this one is seeking, for he sent to me for my wives, and for my children, and for my silver, and for my gold, and I did not refuse him." And all the elders and all the people said to him, "Do not listen nor agree." So he said to the messengers of Ben-Hadad, "Say to my master the sovereign, all that you sent for to your servant the first time I shall do, but this I am unable to do." And the messengers went and brought back word to him. And Ben-Hadad sent to him and said, "The mighty ones do so to me, and more also, if enough dust is left of Shomeron for a handful for each of the people who follow me." And the sovereign of Yisrael answered and said, "Speak, him who girds on his armor should not boast like him who lays it down." And it came to be when this word was heard, as he and the sovereigns were drinking in the booths, that he said to his servants, "Set yourselves." So they set themselves against the city. And see, a prophet came near to Ahab, sovereign of Yisrael, saying, "Thus said Yahuah, have you seen all this great company? See, I am giving it into your hand today, and you shall know that I am Yahuah." And Ahab said, "By whom?" And he said, "Thus said Yahuah, by the young rulers of the provinces." And he said, "Who opens the attack?" Then he answered, "You."
And he mustered the young rulers of the provinces, and there were 232. And after them he mustered all the people, all the children of Yisrael, 7,000.
And they went out at noon, while Ben-Hadad and the 32 sovereigns helping him were getting drunk in the booths.
And the young rulers of the provinces went out first. And Ben-Hadad sent out, and they reported to him, saying, Men have come out of Shomeron.
Then he said, If they have come out for peace, seize them alive. And if they have come out for battle, seize them alive. So these young rulers of the provinces went out of the city with the army which followed them. And each struck his man, so the Arameans fled, and Yisrael pursued them. And Ben-Hadad, the sovereign of Aram, escaped on a horse with the horsemen. And the sovereign of Yisrael went out and struck the horses and chariots, and struck the Arameans, a great smiting. And the prophet came to the sovereign of Yisrael and said to him, Go, strengthen yourself, and know and see what you should do. For at the turn of the year, the sovereign of Aram is coming up against you. And the servants of the sovereign of Aram said to him, Their mighty ones are mighty ones of the hills. That is why they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain. Are we not stronger than they? Now do this. Take away the sovereigns, each from his position, and put officers in their places,
And number an army like the army that you have lost, horse for horse and chariot for chariot, and let us fight against them in the plain. Are we not stronger than they? And he listened to their voice and did so. And it came to be, at the turn of the year, that Ben-Hadad mustered the Arameans and went up to Aphek to fight against Yisrael. And the children of Yisrael were mustered and were fed, and they went against them. And the children of Yisrael encamped before them like 2 little flocks of goats, while the Arameans filled the land. And there came near a man of Elohim, and spoke to the sovereign of Yisrael, and said, Thus said Yahuah, because the Arameans have said, Yahuah is Elohim of the hills, but he is not Elohim of the valleys. Therefore I shall give all this great company into your hand, and you shall know that I am Yahuah. And they encamped opposite each other for 7 days. And it came to be that on the 7th day the battle was joined. And the children of Yisrael struck 100,000 foot soldiers of the Arameans in 1 day. And those that were left fled to Aphek, into the city, and a wall fell on 27,000 of the men who were left. And Ben-Hadad fled, and went into the city, into an inner room. And his servants said to him, See now, we have heard that the sovereigns of the house of Yisrael are lovingly committed sovereigns. Please, let us put sackcloth around our waists and ropes around our heads, and go out to the sovereign of Yisrael. It could be that he spares your life. So they girded sackcloth on their loins, and put ropes around their heads, and came to the sovereign of Yisrael, and said, Your servant Ben-Hadad said, Please let me live. And he said,
Is he still alive? He is my brother. And the men divined, and they quickly grasped it and said, Your brother Ben-Hadad. And he said, Go, bring him. So Ben-Hadad came out to him, and he let him come up on the chariot. And Ben-Hadad said to him, The cities which my father took from your father, I return, and set up marketplaces for yourself in Damasek, as my father did in Shomeron. And Ahab said, I send you away with this covenant. And he made a covenant with him, and sent him away. And a certain man of the sons of the prophets said to his neighbor by the word of Yahuah, Strike me, please. But the man refused to strike him. Then he said to him, Because you have not obeyed the voice of Yahuah, see, as soon as you leave me, a lion shall strike you. And when he left him, a lion found him and struck him. And he found another man and said, Strike me, please. So the man struck him, striking and wounding. Then the prophet went and waited for the sovereign by the way, and disguised himself with a bandage on his eyes. And as the sovereign passed by, he cried out to the sovereign and said, Your servant went out into the midst of the battle, and see, a man came over and brought a man to me, and said, Guard this man. If he should in any way be missing, your life shall be for his life, or else you shall pay a talent of silver. And it came to be, while your servant was busy here and there, he was gone. And the sovereign of Yisrael said to him, Your judgment is right. You yourself have decided it. Then he quickly removed the bandage from his eyes, and the sovereign of Yisrael recognized him as one of the prophets.
And he said to him, Thus said Yahuah, Because you have let slip out of your hand a man whom I put under the ban, therefore your life shall go for his life, and your people for his people.
And the sovereign of Yisrael went to his house embittered and displeased, and came to Shomeron.
And it came to be, after these events, that Naboth the Yisraelite had a vineyard which was in Yisrael, near the palace of Ahab, the sovereign of Shomeron.
And Ahab spoke to Naboth, saying, Give me your vineyard, and it shall be a vegetable garden for me, since it adjoins my house. And let me give you a better vineyard for it. If it is good in your eyes, let me give you its worth in silver. And Naboth said to Ahab, Far be it from me, by Yahuah, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers to you. And Ahab went into his house embittered and displeased because of the word which Naboth the Yisraelite had spoken to him when he said, I do not give you the inheritance of my fathers. And he lay down on his bed and turned away his face and did not eat food. And Isabel his wife came to him and said to him, Why is your spirit so embittered that you are not eating food? And he said to her, Because I spoke to Naboth the Yisraelite and said to him, Give me your vineyard for silver, or if you prefer, I give you another vineyard for it. But he answered, I do not give you my vineyard. Or Isabel his wife said to him, Do you now rule over Yisrael? Rise up, eat food, and let your heart be glad. Let me give you the vineyard of Naboth, the Yisraelite." Then she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters to the elders and the nobles who were dwelling in the city with Naboth. And she wrote in the letters, saying, "Proclaim a fast, and seat Naboth at the head of the people, and seat 2 men, sons of Belial, before him, to bear witness against him, saying, 'You have blasphemed Elohim and the Sovereign. Then you shall take him out and stone him to death.' And the men of his city, the elders and nobles who were inhabitants of his city, did as Isabel had sent to them, as it was written in the letters which she had sent to them. They proclaimed a fast, and seated Naboth at the head of the people. And the men, sons of Belial, came in and sat before him. And the men of Belial witnessed against him, against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, 'Naboth has blasphemed Elohim and the Sovereign.' So they took him outside the city and stoned him with stones. And he died. And they sent to Isabel, saying, 'Naboth has been stoned and is dead.' And it came to be, when Isabel heard that Naboth had been stoned and was dead, that Isabel said to Ahab, 'Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Yisraelite, which he refused to give you for silver. For Naboth is not alive, but dead.' And it came to be, when Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, that Ahab rose to go down to take possession of the vineyard of Naboth, the Yisraelite. And the word of Yahuah came to Eliyahu the Tishbite, saying, 'Rise up, go down to meet Ahab, sovereign of Yisrael, who lives in Shomeron. See, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, where he has gone down to take possession of it. And you shall speak to him, saying, Thus said Yahuah, have you murdered and also taken possession? And you shall speak to him, saying, Thus said Yahuah, in the place where dogs lick the blood of Naboth, the dogs are going to lick your blood, even yours. And Ahab said to Eliyahu, Have you found me, O my enemy? And he answered, I have found you, because you have sold yourself to do evil in the eyes of Yahuah. See, I am bringing evil on you, and shall consume your descendants, and cut off from Ahab every male in Yisrael, both those shut up and those left at large, and make your house like the house of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, son of Ahiah, because of the provocation with which you have provoked me, and made Yisrael sin. And also of Isabel Yahuah has spoken, saying, The dogs are going to eat Isabel by the wall of Yisrael. The dogs are going to eat whoever belongs to Ahab and dies in the city. And the birds of the heavens are going to eat whoever dies in the field. Indeed, there never was anyone like Ahab who sold himself to do evil in the eyes of Yahuah, because Isabel, his wife, stirred him up. And he acted very abominably in following idols, according to all that the Amorites had done, whom Yahuah dispossessed from before the children of Yisrael. And it came to be, when Ahab heard those words, that he tore his garments, and put sackcloth on his body, and fasted, and lay in sackcloth and went softly. And the word of Yahuah came to Eliyahu the Tishbite, saying, See how Ahab has humbled himself before me. Because he has humbled himself before me, I do not bring the evil in his days, but in the days of his son I bring the evil on his house.
And they continued 3 years without fighting between Aram and Yisrael.
And it came to be in the 3rd year that Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Yehudah, came down to the sovereign of Yisrael. And the sovereign of Yisrael said to his servants, Do you know that Ramoth in Gilead is ours, and we are keeping silent from taking it out of the hand of the sovereign of Aram? And he said to Jehoshaphat, Do you go with me to battle at Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the sovereign of Yisrael, I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. And Jehoshaphat said to the sovereign of Yisrael, Please, first inquire for the word of Yahuah. And the sovereign of Yisrael gathered the prophets, about 400 men, and said to them, Do I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or do I refrain? And they said, Go up, for Yahuah does give it into the hand of the sovereign. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of Yahuah besides, that we might inquire of him? And the sovereign of Yisrael said to Jehoshaphat, There is still one man, Micaiah, son of Yimlah, to inquire of Yahuah by him. But I hate him, because he does not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, Let not the sovereign say so. So the sovereign of Yisrael called an officer and said, Bring Micaiah, son of Yimlah, at once. And the sovereign of Yisrael and Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Yehudah, were sitting, each on his throne, dressed in their robes, at a threshing floor, at the entrance of the gate of Shomeron. And all the prophets were prophesying before them. And Sidkiah, son of Kenaanah, had made horns of iron for himself, and said, Thus said Yahuah, With these you push the Arameans until they are destroyed.
And all the prophets were prophesying so, saying, Go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for Yahuah shall give it into the hand of the sovereign.
And the messenger who had gone to call Micaiah spoke to him, saying, See now, the words of the prophets with one mouth are good towards the sovereign. Please, let your word be like the word of one of them, and you shall speak good. And Micaiah said, As Yahuah lives, whatever Yahuah says to me, that I speak. And he came to the sovereign, and the sovereign said to him, Micaiah, do we go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or do we refrain? And he answered him, Go and prosper, for Yahuah shall give it into the hand of the sovereign. And the sovereign said to him, How many times have I made you swear that you do not speak to me, except the truth, in the name of Yahuah? So he said, I saw all Yisrael scattered on the mountains, as sheep that have no shepherd. And Yahuah said, These have no master. Let everyone return to his house in peace.
And the sovereign of Yisrael said to Jehoshaphat, Have I not said to you that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but evil? Then he said, Therefore, hear the word of Yahuah. I saw Yahuah sitting on his throne, and all the host of the heavens standing by him, on his right and on his left. And Yahuah said, Who shall entice Ahab to go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And this one said this, and another said that. And a spirit came forward and stood before Yahuah, and said, Let me entice him. And Yahuah said to him, In what way? And he said, I shall go out and be a spirit of falsehood in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, Entice him, and also prevail. Go out and do so. And now, see, Yahuah has put a spirit of falsehood in the mouth of all these prophets of yours, and Yahuah has spoken evil concerning you. And Tzidkiyahu, son of Kena'anah, came near and struck Micaiah on the cheek, and said, Where did the spirit of Yahuah pass over from me to speak to you? And Micaiah said, Look, you shall see on that day when you go into an inner room to hide. And the sovereign of Yisrael said, Take Micaiah and return him to Ammon the governor of the city, and to Joash, son of the sovereign, and say, Thus said the sovereign, Put this one in prison, and feed him with bread of affliction and water of affliction, until I come in peace. And Micaiah said, If you ever return in peace, Yahuah has not spoken by me. And he said, Hear, all you people. And the sovereign of Yisrael and Jehoshaphat, the sovereign of Yehudah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the sovereign of Yisrael said to Jehoshaphat, Let me disguise myself and go into battle, but you put on your robes. So the sovereign of Yisrael disguised himself and went into battle. And the sovereign of Aram had commanded the 32 commanders of his chariots, saying, Fight with no one small or great, but only with the sovereign of Yisrael. And it came to be, when the commanders of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, that they said, Indeed, it is the sovereign of Yisrael. So they turned aside to fight against him, and Jehoshaphat cried out. And it came to be, when the commanders of the chariots saw that it was not the sovereign of Yisrael, that they turned back from pursuing him. And a man drew a bow in his simplicity, and struck the sovereign of Yisrael between the joints of his armor. And he said to the driver of his chariot, Turn around and take me out of the battle, for I am wounded. And the battle increased that day. And the sovereign was propped up in his chariot, facing the Arameans, and died at evening. And the blood ran out from the wound onto the floor of the chariot. And as the sun was going down, a shout passed through the camp, saying, Each to his city, and each to his land. So the sovereign died, and was brought to Shomeron, and they buried the sovereign in Shomeron. And when the chariot was washed at a pool in Shomeron, the dogs licked up his blood, where the whores bathed, according to the word of Yahuah which he had spoken. And the rest of the acts of Ahab
and all that he did, and the ivory house which he built, and all the cities that he built? Are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yisrael? So Ahab slept with his fathers, and Ahazyahu his son reigned in his place. And Jehoshaphat, son of Asa, began to reign over Yehudah in the 4th year of Ahab sovereign of Yisrael. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he became sovereign, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. And he walked in all the ways of his father Asa. He did not turn aside from them, doing what was right in the eyes of Yahuah. Only the high places were not taken away, for the people slaughtered and burned incense on the high places. And Jehoshaphat made peace with the sovereign of Yisrael. And the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, and the might that he showed, and how he fought, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Yehudah? And the rest of the cult prostitutes, who remained in the days of his father Asa, he cleared out from the land. And there was then no sovereign in Edom. A deputy was sovereign. Jehoshaphat made Tarshish ships to go to Ophir for gold. However, they did not go, for the ships were wrecked at Etzion-Geber. Then Ahazyahu, son of Ahab, said to Jehoshaphat, "Let my servants go with your servants in the ships." But Jehoshaphat would not. So Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father. And Jehoram his son reigned in his place. Ahazyahu, son of Ahab, began to reign over Yisrael in Shomeron in the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Yehudah, and reigned 2 years over Yisrael, and did evil in the eyes of Yahuah, and walked in the way of his father, and in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, who had made Yisrael sin, and served Baal and bowed himself to it, and provoked Yahuah Elohim of Yisrael, according to all that his father had done.